Welcome to our next episode of
Fandom
Family
Chats.
This is a production of Family Fan Clubs on Facebook. You can find us all over Facebook. You can find us all over social media under Fandom Family Chats. Look us up, get dialed in, get plugged in, and get ready to listen to some crazy people talk crazy stuff. Hey guys, welcome back to FFC. I'm Maureen.
I'm Eve.
And I'm Jeanette.
And today we are back for one night only for Chicago.
One night only. Sounds like some sort of like special like concert or something, right?
It is a special concert.
This is really special.
What was a 2-week break? And then these episodes, and now we're on the
Was it 2 or was it 3-week break? Because The Resident came back last week, I thought, after 2 weeks. And then they were here this week.
2.
I think the rest also 2.
Yeah.
But they don't come back again until January. So it's just, they just wanted to give us a little, I don't know. I don't understand why they're doing this. This is not the only show doing it either. Several shows are coming back for 1, maybe 2 episodes, and then they're done until after December. I don't get it.
Was there other things that the networks had to air, or are they just being all willy-nilly about the shows going on?
I think all networks do Christmas programming all of December. But yeah. I think that's it, as far as I know. I mean, I don't have cable anymore, so I don't really know. I do all streaming. I just remember when I did have cable, everything in December was like Christmas shows and movies and countdowns to Christmas and
anymore.
I mean, I have an antenna, so I watch, but that's only for football. So
I don't know anyone who has cable anymore.
All right, but let's start with Med. And we did get, now this is a scene, this is a scene, event, whatever, that we've been speculating about all season. And I think Jeanette was the first one who told us there was going to be something like this happening this season.
And I think I also said it was probably going to be Ethan.
You did from the beginning. Yes. So let's talk Ethan and April.
I was listening to your all's recording from the last episode finally today. I know Amanda was very disappointed that we weren't getting more of Ethan and April, and I am too, but this was good for me. I was happy with it, because I mean, as soon as we found out that Brian T was leaving, the only way that I was accepting him leaving is if him and April were riding off into the sunset together, which is essentially what we did. So yeah, totally fine with this. And
they're even staying in the area, so it's not like they're probably going to be cameos for, I mean, you get April, she's off the show. She still comes back for cameos.
Yeah. I hope we get to see him again, at least every once in a while, or at least someone talking about him. I want to know what's going on.
I mean, you look at who was the lady that Crockett Rhodes was with? The crazy lady? She went off the show and they made sure she couldn't come back.
Yeah.
And they didn't make that effort with Brian or with April or Ethan or April. So I think we'll see him again. Yeah.
I hope so. I did get a touch nervous, when first we bring in her dad, which I'm like, God, that's terrible timing. The day before your wedding, and your dad's having heart trouble. Mm-hmm. And then also, April's having, it seemed like getting cold feet, and it was funny to me that Ethan at first was like, oh, it wasn't registering to him that wait a minute, are you wanting to postpone this? And I got nervous. I was like, don't you dare, April. Don't you dare.
Do not ruin this dream for me.
Yeah. I mean, how that we saw the pictures.
Yeah, I know. So I knew it was going to happen. But I still got nervous. I don't know why. But she was like, neither one of us have been married before. Well, yeah, that's sort of the idea when you get married. I mean, I understand.
You do only want it to be once. When you get
sometimes
married.
Things happen, and you get married more than once. But I think everyone goes into it thinking, this is going to be the one and only time.
No one goes into it thinking, "Oh, I can't wait for number 3."
Who doesn't? It doesn't work out. We'll just do it better next time. Nobody thinks that before you get married. So it was kind of a weird comment, but whatever.
I get what she's saying. It's almost like the idea that we haven't even lived together yet. It's kind of, I think in her head, it's the same thing.
But they did for a while.
But, yeah. I did notice that Doris always seems to be the nurse that brings doomsday stuff. And she's always hyping it up. When she handed Ethan the chart, oh, her dad's in the day before your wedding, huh? Nobody needs it the day before. Doris, shut up.
Right.
Why are you the way that you are?
I don't know.
I like her though.
Myself, but yeah.
I do, but it always makes me laugh because she's always the one bringing this news to people.
Mm-hmm.
They don't. It's almost like they reserve these cases for when Doris is working. It's
yeah.
I don't know.
Oh yeah,
Human glue. She has to bring it.
But the dad, he didn't have a heart attack.
Yes, so that was good.
And like after the CT, in my notes, I wrote, "Why is he laying back down?" He had the CT. They found out what was wrong, and then the nurse helped him lay back down to go, like he was going to go back into the scanner. Like, why are you giving him multiple scans?
Unless how did they transport him to the CT? Maybe they transported him. But
that bed for the CT doesn't move.
Yeah,
you have to go from something else to that bed in the scanner.
Yeah, that was weird. I didn't notice that, but that's definitely weird.
Maybe it was her first day and she didn't know what she was doing.
I think it was more, hey, Dad, we don't want you to come to the hallway with Ethan and April, so have a relax.
Yeah, maybe that was it. Maybe like hold on a minute, so just relax until we get you back to your room. I don't know.
Made me laugh.
I mean, I was glad that but then also at the same time in my head, I'm thinking, like, okay, so they're telling him it's not an emergency, but like just a minute ago, you were trying to discharge him, and he had pains again. So are we sure that's not going to happen again? Like, it seemed emergent at that moment because he was talking about how bad the pain was. So it was a little strange,
inconsistent.
Unless it was some kind of emergency. It's like, okay, this is what we can do for you in the short term. Like, this is the short-term treatment we can do for you. And we can send you on your way to watch your daughter live out her happily ever after. And then you have to come right back.
But they didn't if they were giving medicine to tide him over, that'd been one thing, but we didn't say that either.
Yeah, so, we didn't see it and we didn't hear it. So it felt like we kind of talked about this when we record the Resident podcast, that sometimes they kind of alter truth to fit what they want to have happen.
Yeah.
And the dad was clearly on there to highlight both of their fears.
Yes. So I mean, I get that.
Yeah.
I also thought
it did feel inconsistent though.
I thought it was interesting too, which I know we're going to talk about the other patient a little bit, but just the fact that two patients this episode, we're discharging you, but oh wait, no, there's another emergency and you're feeling worse. Was that odd that it was two different patients and that happened? It almost made me think, is there going to be something tying in here? Why is everybody why are you getting ready to make this person leave? And then they're like, wait, it's worse. And then that happened with another person too. I'm like, are you all doing your jobs today? Because I feel like you're discharging people way too soon now.
Well, at least they didn't make it out of the hospital before the second emergency happened.
I mean, everybody's got weddings on their brain.
I was going to say,
paying attention. Apparently,
they're all trying to get out the door to the wedding. I got places to be, people.
Yeah,
I don't have time for any of this doctoring nonsense. I got to get to a wedding.
Exactly. Too funny.
I was glad to see that they highlighted that their fears were not about the other, but their fears were self-doubt in themselves of how they would fail as a spouse, not about how the other one would. I'm glad because I kind of thought when Ethan originally kind of was like, okay, fine. I thought they were just going to leave it and brush it under the rug, and I'm glad they didn't.
Yeah. And I think that's obviously coming back from their being in the relationship before and it failing. So they're, I can see where you would be more fearful since you've already sort of had a failed relationship with this person. So I was happy to see Noah. I didn't realize how much I missed Noah until I saw his face, and I was like, oh God, I love him.
I miss him even more now. I've always missed him, but now I miss him more. And I'm like, okay, well, he can come back now.
Yeah, I agree. I wanted to see Emily though. I was hoping we'd see her too, which maybe Arden's got stuff going on. I don't know. But I was really hoping to see her, mostly because she's not gonna be in my Teen Wolf movie either. So I was like, if I could have just gotten one episode, I love Arden show, but oh well.
Did they say what Noah is? Did they ever explain his absence, what he's doing now, where he went?
No,
I don't remember that either.
Back to work. They didn't say where.
I think it was explained. I think his absence, him leaving the show, is explained. I don't remember what it was though.
Because I just watched all these and I don't remember.
I don't remember. Of course,
I'm on chemo drugs, so it's not saying a lot.
I don't remember exactly what it was, but I know it had to do with Ethan. Noah did something that was against hospital policy.
Oh, that's right.
And Ethan, because I thought that was a big deal, because Ethan was kind of ratting him out for it. And that was one of the big issues with him in April, because I mean, obviously that's her brother. And she was like, no. And
And
But
Ethan and
that
April
means-
were not dating at that time.
Still, this
And
was,
he said to her, if it had been anyone else, I would have
Yeah.
done more.
yeah, true.
I remember that now.
So is he still a doctor somewhere, or like I wonder. I don't know. I would like to know that. I'd like to know exactly what it is he's doing.
Ethan never ratted him out to anybody, so there would be no reason for him to not be a doctor.
That's true. That's true. Because he was going to be a surgeon, right? Wasn't he doing a surgical residency with Connor? I
I
think he
think
was.
so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Let's bring Noah back. I like him.
I don't think that'll happen, but I agree. I do like him a lot. That wedding, though, April looked phenomenal.
Oh,
So
yeah.
Phenomenal. So did Maggie.
Yes. Everyone looked great.
Mhm.
Crockett looked great. Will, I mean, we
There it
already
is.
know.
I was waiting for
right?
you to say that
I
one.
was like, oh my God. Hannah looked beautiful and she caught the bouquet.
I noticed that.
Which was kind of awkward because I'm like, does April really know her that well? Like they were not on the show together at all. But
I think maybe she knows that Will has a thing for April and she knows Will. So
yeah.
I think she was like, here you go.
Yeah, take this. Good luck. No, but
Dick
everybody
Wolf
looks
won't
great.
play matchmaker for Will Halstead, so April's got to do it.
He's gonna, yeah. Will's never gonna have anyone. I've already determined. So
That's okay. He has Jeanette, so.
I know. But I noticed I was curious who would be like the best. Like I was wondering like who's gonna be in like their wedding parties and stuff. And so it looked like Archer, which I think really fits that he ended up being the best man. I liked that a lot. Especially since this was a really hard episode for him.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, he's still suffering from the effects of that fight that he was trying to break up.
Yeah. And I'm glad, not that I'm glad that this is what's going on with him, but I was really getting worried back when we saw him taking the pills like for his injury. I thought, oh no, we're not going to go down like a storyline of him getting like addicted or something like that. I mean, it does sound like he maybe like took a lot of them, but it doesn't sound like there's any sort of addiction problem. It's just messed with his kidneys. And so now he's having to take dialysis and stuff. So at least that's, in my opinion, that's better than like what I thought they were going to do with that storyline.
And really, how many times can you do an addiction storyline without it getting boring on a single show?
Yeah. So I'm glad this was different because I didn't expect this. I didn't see this coming. I mean, I hate that he's having to do dialysis and I wonder how
That's a
bad
maybe.
he's going to get.
He
What
said
was
if the renal diet didn't work,
Right.
then he'll have to do dialysis.
Yeah. And I don't know. I hope it doesn't get that far. I like him. I
actually really like Archer.
I do too.
They just made us like him, and now they're giving him. Well, I'm glad he's getting a big storyline. I'm glad for that. But
Well, you're gonna have to because like there's no one left on the show. So I mean, like,
but I don't know. Dick Wolf isn't this mean, is he? Like, would he really make us like him? And then, oh no, now.
I mean, he
Yes.
would because he did that.
He has
with
done
Hawkins.
it.
Like he just did it.
And with why am I forgetting? I'm forgetting. We just talked about it right before we started recording on PD. Nadia, geez, Louise.
Oh yeah, that was a long time ago though.
Well, I know, but he does it on every show.
Oh, I know. I'm just saying. Most recently, we just made me fall in love with someone, and then we murdered him viciously. So, like, yeah, I think he would do it.
Dick Wolf has a
Let's
problem.
hope not.
You have hit your quota, Dick Wolf. It's okay. Leave Archer alone.
Please.
I thought this was going to go more towards the Alzheimer's round. I was kind of surprised it went this way because when they were talking about the OR, when they were giving the presentation, they zeroed in on his face.
Yes.
And he looked nervous.
Why?
He looked upset. I think he kind of felt like he was being pushed out. Like, I'm the old guy. They hinted at that when him and Asher did that surgery where they were talking about the laparoscopic and he only knew that he preferred the old way and he had to talk her through it. There's been hints of this in the last few episodes where something new has come along and he's gotten disgruntled about it. But then also with this Alzheimer's patient, he saw him first. He was watching from the doorway and again looked scared. So
yes,
like,
I was really weirded out by some of his expressions in this episode. I didn't know what was happening.
I really
still don't
think
know
he
what's
feels
happening.
like he's being, now that Ethan is leaving and Ethan was the one who really liked him in the hospital.
Yeah.
I think he kind of feels like his time is short.
But he's the head of the ED. I mean, so he's kind of got a big job.
That doesn't mean his position is safe.
I know, but
I mean, if you can be the head of the ED and continue to make money, but the people making money are the people bringing in all these new things that he's not comfortable with. So I hope he stays, but I think that's kind of what he's thinking is I'm the old guy now and I'm being pushed out. And then that's why, but I really thought we were going Alzheimer's route. I thought because I thought he was forgetting things is what I thought.
yeah.
I didn't know he was actually going to the bathroom. Also, did anyone catch that Asher called it the loo?
Yeah,
British all of a sudden?
And nobody what was even weirder than that was that nobody commented on it. Like when she called it the loo, like nobody said the loo.
I didn't think it was weird though, because I felt like it felt like something she would say though, even though like she's not British. Like I felt like it was more of like the loo, because she's not, I don't know, like being a little, I don't know, it felt like an Asher sort of thing to say.
It didn't feel weird to it. I didn't find the fact that she said it weird because it felt like a very Asher thing to say.
Yeah.
I just found it weird that nobody commented on it. Like they didn't, like nobody even like thought twice when she called it the loo. But then again, it's such an Asher thing to do.
Maybe they thought that.
They were just like, yeah, that's what Hannah does. She calls it the loo. Let's move on.
Yeah.
But it was very amusing.
She also brought up that he's having trouble seeing like ultrasounds and he's having her take leads on surgeries that he would normally have the lead on and all these other things. Like with Grant surgery, he was asking her to take leads on things and take over at certain points. And I think with Archer, I think that just what's going on with, because they said, what did they say? He had intestinal nephritis and papillary necrosis, which sounds bad. Necrosis I associate with like flesh eating. I don't even know what that word is. Dead flesh.
I don't know. The fancier the word, the more scary it sounds.
Yes, and both of these sound terrifying. Like terrifying.
Very terrifying.
I understand it.
I guess it does explain why he's not as gung-ho as the rest of the hospital is over this fancy new OR 2.0. Which, holy cow, that was fancy.
I like how long of a name it has.
But also kind of odd.
Yeah.
Like those fancy gloves that they had Crockett wear, and it was basically telling him how to do the surgery. I'm like, I'm sorry, there's not a machine in the world who's going to do a better job of performing a surgery than a live human surgeon.
Is this like a thing? When that like 3D model of the heart popped up, I was like, is this like, I mean, I don't know, like, do we have things like this? Because that's wild.
That was more realistic to me than on a lot of other medical shows when they do kind of something like this, because they got the 3D heart model, I thought, by the different projections around the room. So they were all shining into one spot to create the 3D model as opposed to pushing a button and it just appears. So I appreciated it seemed a little more realistic, but I don't know that this exists, but I'm also not in the medical field, so I don't know.
I've only had one surgery in my life, so I can't really.
And you've also been asleep for all your surgeries, so you wouldn't know that either.
I got no idea what they do in there.
Mine, but it, you know.
And I did like, we get a lot of Will in this case, obviously, you know, Richard Evans, but Will has this patient who coincidentally has an inoperable pancreatic cancer. I assume it's a mass or a tumor that's, I think they said it's in his pancreas, like, obviously, but it's like wrapped around things.
Like wrapped around it, something in his pancreas.
And what I thought, it was really interesting to me to see the dynamic between Dayton and Crockett, because Dayton, we've loved Dayton up until this point, right?
Until this episode. Yep.
He bought them he took care of the Scrubs problem. He took care of all, and even Sharon alluded to that in that Scrubs episode when Maggie said, good to have a guardian angel. And she said, yeah, it's not really good for the long term though, is it? And I thought that could be two ways. And I think we're seeing it in this episode. Sharon. The other way it could go. So he pushes for everything in this in Crockett, and he invites the public to this unbelievably experimental, super crazy high risk surgery.
Yeah.
And Crockett is ticked.
That bothered me big time because I mean, Crockett was right, because, you know, as one of the big things, the education profession is all these people making decisions who have never been in a classroom and know nothing about education. And now here we are on Chicago Med, and we have this engineer, because that's what he is.
Yeah.
An engineer thinking, oh, I get to make, I help put all the money into this fancy new OR. So now I know everything about surgery and I know what's best and the public needs to see it. I'm like, no, you're not a doctor. You don't get to make those decisions.
Yeah. And I think because he's the one who even pushed Crockett to do the surgery in the first place. He told Will, no, flat out, I'm not doing it. It's inoperable.
Yeah.
Will wanted to do it. Dayton overheard and pushed his nose in there and said, no, you're going to do it. And for some reason, Crockett just listened to him. I suppose talking to Richard Evans kind of made it work, because I wrote him a quote that Richard said to him, because I thought he's kind of a fantastic dude. He said, even if the worst happens to me, hopefully you learn something. Isn't that how science works? And I thought, holy crap, to have, and the reason he was okay with it is because the poor man didn't want his wife to be responsible for him at the end. That's really love, when you're sacrificing yourself for somebody else and for many other people's.
Yeah. And I loved her response back to that when he was like talking about that. She was like, this isn't about me. So like, I mean, she's saying, like, I will do that, but like, this isn't about me. Like, this is what you want.
Yeah.
Not that, I don't know. We only saw them for like maybe 20 minutes, but like,
I love them.
Loved them.
They're pretty fantastic people. And then when Crockett said, you're brave, and he said, no, I'm going to be asleep. You're the one doing the surgery.
Touched his hand. I was like, oh my gosh, that's a sweet little moment.
But I got scared. And I think it was that comment that filled Crockett with the enormity of the situation. I mean, he was already aware. He's a surgeon. He does this for a living. But that statement alone, realizing the caliber of a man that he's operating on and realizing what that means if the surgery goes bad, I think that's why because he even admitted to Dayton, I'm scared. You should be scared.
Yeah.
Because it's a human being. And then when he did something right and they all clapped, do you know what's happening? Why are you clapping right now?
Yeah.
Shut up.
It was, yeah. I mean, it worked out, and this is good in the end, because it probably is like good, they got to see it only because it had a good outcome. It could have very easily went the other way.
Especially when Crockett had to correct the AI. He was not happy about that. But then did you notice that
comment?
Go ahead.
When the AI said something like, you have to do this, and he was like, I'm aware. And then they said something else, and he was like, yeah. I mean, it was almost like it was telling him stuff, and he's like, yeah, I know. Like, why are you like saying this? Like, I got this. So I don't know. It's cool, but I definitely see where there could be issues from it.
Absolutely. And I think the only way to correct it is to have someone like Dr. Dupree in the room, who by the way is a new character. She almost came like a gift with the OR. So she's a happy addition, but she had to override it, and she had to change the settings while in there and operating. So I think that is the benefit, that they're not solely relying 100% on just the AI, but they have a person who's in there who's just as knowledgeable and controlling the AI. So I think that helps.
As the surgeon that's doing the surgery is as good as Crockett.
Yeah, exactly.
That's where the problem is. Like, what if it's like the new guy Kai or whatever, like, who doesn't fully understand? Like, I don't know. I think it could be troublesome if this isn't a really experienced surgeon performing this.
Did you notice though? I'm sure you did, Jeanette, but did you notice that after Crockett corrected the AI and then it said changes made or whatever it said, they zoomed in on Will up in the stands, smiling and like laughing hugely?
Oh yeah. I noticed everything that happens. And I mean, I think that's just, I don't know. I think that was more of like a little, like, I don't know. He was laughing at like, yeah, obviously they didn't know. Cause I don't know. I mean, I think he wanted this to work too, but I think all of them are skeptical of this, like new fancy toy they've got.
I think Will found at that moment, cause everything, even with this, like Will, it's not like he puts all of his faith in newfangled tech. Everything he does is for what he thinks is the best possible outcome for his patients. And I think in that moment, he could see that I had the best guy on this. And I think at that moment, he was like, this is going to work. And he's excited. But I think he was also excited that because I felt the Crockett that I started to like is coming back.
Yes, I agree.
And I think that was the start of it was when he was confronting Dayton. And he was like, no, this is not how it's going to happen. And the finishing of it was AI. that's not correct. We're doing it my way. And so I think that because I think Will liked Crockett. Obviously not when he was dating Natalie. There was a little tension there.
Even then, it didn't take them
They
long
didn't
to like
fight,
each
yeah.
other. You know, I mean, I think they're friendly. They definitely both have strong personalities, so we see them clash sometimes. But like, I think they're friends.
Yeah.
So.
But I haven't liked Crockett recently. Like I've just been like, ooh, you're smarmy now. I don't like it.
Crockett has had an attitude problem big time this season. And I don't remember how, because the beginning of the season was so long ago because they take so many gosh darn breaks. But he's had an attitude problem for most of this season. And I feel like he's finally starting to come back. And I'm finally seeing, okay, this is the reason why I like Crockett so much.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No, I agree.
Absolutely. And I don't want him to become Dayton or one of Dayton's pawns.
No, I was gonna say, I mean, I think he's definitely not now, because I think, especially with now we find out that Dayton's like got controlling interest in the hospital. I think Crockett's gonna be one of the main people to make sure that he's not coming in there and like just taking over and running things however he sees fit without.
I don't think Crockett's gonna be able to though.
Well, I think he's gonna fight. I think they're all gonna like. I mean, obviously they won't be able to at first, but I mean, I guess this is our villain, for the season of, because you always have to have some sort of conflict happening, and this is obviously what we're doing. Which, I mean, I didn't know, because I mean, like, I know we liked Jack Dayton, I did, but at the same time, in the back of my mind, there was always this little like,
what are you gonna get out of this?
I don't know if I trust you, like kind of thing. Like when you were giving all this money, like why? Like what's your reasoning? And so now it all makes sense.
I didn't trust him. And I think Amanda and I talked about this before, that we kept wondering, why is he still here? Yeah. Why does he keep showing up? So I kind of liked him, but then at the same time, I was always suspicious of him just because he kept showing up and he's not a doctor. I'm like, you're an engineer. You're not a doctor. You're not a patient. I figured if he keeps showing up, he's going to end up, being someone we can't trust. And so that's kind of what was going on in my head. Yeah.
I liked him until the day he saved them with the scrubs. And then I was like, this seems weird.
I think I even liked him then. I think it was last episode.
I liked what he did, but that's when I started to be like, okay, you have other motive. You have to have other motives here.
I don't know. That one didn't click. It was the giving the extra money, because he was so eager to just fork over money, and not even just what you asked for, but extra. And I was like,
it's true.
Why is that? Because I mean, who just gives away millions of dollars for like no gain? No, I don't believe anyone would do that.
Was it in Med that someone was saying what strings are attached? And was it Sharon who said, I don't see any yet? Was that in Med that happened?
Oh, it sounds familiar. So I think so.
I watched a lot of shows over the past 2 days. I think, yes, because in the end, when the lawyer apologized to Sharon and said, I just found out he bought out these shares, I think Sharon said, I guess those are the strings. Maybe. Does that sound familiar to anybody else?
I mean, it sounds familiar, but we watch all the same shows, so it could very well be from something else.
I mean, of all the medical dramas we watch, it sounds like Med is the most likely.
That's true.
Because I can't think of anything that's going on in The Resident right now where that statement would make sense.
No. And I mean, either way, we know that Jack is now in charge, supposedly. But that is not the only change that we see in this episode either, which is a huge bummer for me.
And like some of these other changes I like, some I didn't. You know what? I'm still really mad at Ben. I'm mad at Ben. I don't like the way he's handled the situation with Maggie and Grant at all. I totally get being upset that she should have told him. Absolutely. Like I'm with that. But part of my thing is like he would have, and I think we were texting, like or messaging. He would, even if she had told him, he would have reacted exactly this way at that moment.
I feel like throughout this whole situation, ever since Grant came into the picture, I feel like Ben is just looking for a reason to react the way that he's been reacting. So I don't know what Maggie could, I mean, I know what she could do differently. She could tell her husband when things come up the first time. But even so, I still think he would have reacted poorly for some other reason. So
The thing is, like, Maggie, in my opinion, was doing everything right. And granted, she hadn't mentioned that he was back in the picture at first, but she was not spending any time with him. It was all Vanessa. Okay. So she was not doing anything wrong in those moments. As soon as like Ben even found out he existed around there, like he blew up over stuff. And I think from that moment on, she started making mistakes in the way that she was handling it. Probably because she was trying to keep the peace. I'm still team Maggie here with this. Like Ben, like also, like I get being mad. I would be mad as well. Like I would let David have it, but I also wouldn't say, okay, now we're going to take some time apart. The very first time your wife has ever done anything to break your trust or upset you, the very first time.
Is that the first time though? Because didn't she wait for a long time to tell him that A, she contacted him, and B, that he was back?
But she was
And
not
then,
like,
but she hid it from him at first. And that was kind of what I agree with you. I think Ben has overreacted the whole time. But I think it's because like one of the reasons Maggie was nervous about this was because she didn't know if she would still have feelings for Grant, and she acted accordingly. She acted out of fear by not disclosing information because she was worried she might still have feelings, and she didn't want Ben to pick up on it.
Yeah.
And I think Ben did pick up on that's what she was doing. And I think that's why he got so disgustingly jealous, because that's what happened is he got jealous over something he shouldn't have been jealous about.
I just get the impression that no matter how she had handled the situation, even from the very beginning, Ben would have been a jerk about it.
I don't know. I think if she would have included him from the beginning, he would have been more accepting. I do.
I don't think so, because as soon as he did find out, like, you know, there was the initial upset, and then, but he was still so like, if you think about the episode where Grant walks up with like the jacket and is like kind of being kind of flirtatious with her, Maggie's not doing anything wrong in that moment. It's all Grant, and Ben took it out on Maggie that entire episode. So
she also didn't like, she wasn't, Ben does have a problem. I think he has, in this situation, I think he has more of a problem than Maggie does, for sure. I also think Maggie wasn't forceful enough with Grant. I don't think Maggie should have gotten in the car with Grant. She should have never done that. And it's the same thing with the jacket when she brought it in there, is she wasn't like, Grant, I told you we don't have a relationship outside of Vanessa. You need to leave. But instead she was like, oh, thank you. This is nice. You know, this is my husband. And I think that it just, for me, that moment right there, I was like, if I were Ben, I'd probably be a little upset too with this overt flirting, and you're not shutting it. You're not doing anything to encourage it, but you're also not being forceful and shutting it down either.
Like, I think then we would have a serious conversation about like setting some boundaries, but instead he was just, excuse me,
I agree,
an ass to her the whole time.
He was.
So like,
I get why, but he should have had a conversation for sure.
Should have been there. And even this situation, he accuses her of cheating. She's like, absolutely not. I mean, I'm like, do you know your wife at all? Of course she's not cheating on you. Like, I know she almost did, but she shut it down. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, and he's automatically like, we need to take some time apart. I feel like that's a little like quick to why not say like, we need to work on this. Maybe we need to go to some marriage counseling. Maybe we need to like seriously discuss this. But he's like, no, you know what? We're done for right now. Okay, well that's harsh in my opinion.
I think that's the problem. They do need marriage counseling because they don't freaking know how to talk to each other.
Yeah,
that's
Maggie
exactly
doesn't know how to be straight up with him and say, hey, this is what's going on. And she doesn't know how to cut off draw boundaries.
Yeah.
And then Ben doesn't know, I don't know what Ben's problem is, but they both have issues. They can't communicate with each other.
Yeah.
Either that or they don't want to communicate with each other, which is a whole other problem, I guess.
Yeah. I just love Maggie. So I'm just like,
I do too. I love Maggie, but I also am recognizing that she has handled this wrong from the jump too.
She has, but I don't think she deserves the treatment that she's getting by him.
I think that she needs to understand how severe a situation is. I mean, there's relationships when you're married that you can't have with other dudes. You can't, there's just certain things you can't do. And it's not just limited to physical things. And especially someone who A, you had a kid with, B, you would still be with had something else not interfered, and C, who you think you still might have feelings for. any interaction with them has to be severely limited, and you have to be forceful cutting it off. But the thing is, Maggie has from the beginning has been acting as if I need to communicate to him in a way that doesn't upset him. I need to make sure I keep the peace. And but he's also been sort of the same way of his idea is she's not communicating with me because she doesn't trust me. So she clearly must be doing something that's I shouldn't trust. It's both of them are sending the wrong signals at all times because they want a marriage that's filled with only happy and peace. And that's not what a marriage is. I think for all the years that they've been married, they don't fully understand what a marriage involves. And marriage involves talking about the hard stuff, even when it's hard.
Yeah.
And neither one of them are good at that in their marriage.
We need to take a character away. Just take Ben away. I'm cool with it. I'm over him completely, if I'm being honest.
I think he should be allowed to be mad and hurt by this. Do I think he should leave her? No. But I do think he deserves to be mad and angry because it looks terrible.
And I agree. Like, I guess my biggest issue was when he walks up and he's like, accident, like just immediately yelling at her. And she said, you know, I or something, or there was no like, were you okay? Like, he didn't care to find out about the accident and what happened to her, any of that. All he was there to do was to yell at her. And to me, that's not, I don't care how mad I would be at my husband. My initial response that you were in a car accident, you didn't tell me, would be to want to know how, like, what happened? How are you? Then we're going to get into all this other stuff.
But this isn't the first time he's seen her since the car accident. He knows she's fine.
But I don't know. I still feel like that would be where my head would go. Like, were you okay? Like, I don't know. I would want to know more about your physical being than to yell at you at that moment.
I feel like he just used it as another reason to be mad at her. He's like, "Oh, good. This is more ammunition.
I really do.
Her way to be mad at her."
I think it was just another knife to him of seriously. You went out with this. Part of it is the way that idiot surgeon presented it. First of all, have you not heard of HIPAA? I know you're new, but you're just going to offer accident information to somebody else without even asking their permission. Are you serious? Yeah. But the way he displayed that, it was even making Dr. Charles uncomfortable. The way he told, and the way he said it to him was built to incite his anger. He didn't realize it, but that's what it did. And so him living with Maggie, knowing she's okay, and knowing that, okay, so he's here, you're up there waiting with him, you were in a car with him, and now you're sitting here waiting outside the surgical room as if you're his wife. And so I think he took it too far, but I get why he's mad.
I wouldn't have reacted that way. So
I don't know that I would have either. I just get that. I get why he's mad. It looks horrible.
I'm cool with him being mad, but you saying you need to take time apart, like in that instant moment, it seems too much.
I agree with that. I think there should have been,
you're
too heated to talk right now. We need to take time apart. I need to step away from the situation for a minute and calm down. And then we're going to come back together and we're going to talk
later. Yeah.
They have too much time apart. That's the problem.
And that's true. We also didn't see this conversation play out. So we don't know if he actually said, I need to walk away, or I need to step away, or if he said we need time apart, because their communication sucks and they both make assumptions about the other one. He assumes the worst about Maggie, and she assumes that he's going to be mad at everything and he's going to take everything to the extreme. So I think there is a possibility.
He does. She's right. He's proven that.
She's proven what he thinks though too. Neither one of them is fully innocent here. And I think that there's a possibility he didn't say we're done for now, and she thinks that's what he means. And so that's why she's feeling this way. There is a possibility of that because we didn't see the conversation.
There's a possibility, but that's not what I believe happened. So
I'm just here to play devil's advocate.
I know. We get riled up.
I see that.
Ben made me mad. But what didn't make me mad was Dr. Charles might have a new romance.
That was so cute.
I am like probably too excited about this, if I'm being honest. I have wanted him to have someone, and I don't count as therapist because that was terrible. Like since Cece, he's not had anyone that I've enjoyed him with since Cece. So this makes me excited.
Very.
This is something I want to talk to Amanda about because I know Dr. Charles is like her favorite.
He's mine too on Med.
Yeah, so I know that she's probably very, very invested. But as soon as I saw this, I was like, this is so cute. This has to work out.
so cute. And I mean, just when he was watching her sing, I mean, you could tell, I mean, the man was falling in love right then and there. I mean, he was like absolutely loving it, which I mean, her voice was gorgeous. So like, I totally understand. And how sweet was she?
I know.
Like, I just loved her.
I love when he was having coffee with Sharon and he's looking at the help and she's like, who is this lady? Oh, I gotta go. And he just walked away from his coffee he just bought. He's afraid to say anything. And then even his conversation with Sharon later, when it's one-sided completely. And she said like 2 words. He's like, oh, you're right. I shouldn't do it.
That's not what I said.
And then Sharon's just standing there both times like, what
just happened?
Yeah.
And I love when he was standing in that hallway watching all the housekeepers go by waiting for her to come, and she came up on him from the back and surprised him. I thought that was so cute.
What did he say? When he said something about coffee, and she's like, you want me to get you coffee? And he was like, no. I was like,
I thought that was just so adorable. The whole interaction. She's like, oh, you want me to go get you coffee? I'm like, no, honey, that's not what he's talking about.
No, it was
She
great.
was so innocent and so surprised that someone would want her. And Dr. Charles was so surprised that she was surprised that someone would want her. So I think it's going to be good. And of course, when he asked her on the date, she was like, right now? Let's go on a date right now. Let's go do it right now.
I like her style. Yes. Why wait? Just go. Perfect.
And her name is Lillian, so I'm really excited about it.
Yes.
I think we've been saying, I mean, obviously I haven't been on the med pod. This is my first med podcast I've been on, but I've been listening to you guys say for a while, Dr. Charles needs somebody, and he does.
He's amazing. Like, he needs somebody, and I think she's perfect so far. I mean, like, I know we don't know a lot about her, but I'm on board.
It's going to be perfect. Let's just manifest it.
Yeah.
She's going to be perfect and wonderful.
And I wonder if the Paul Michaels case had like a shove to him, because that was one that they thought was Alzheimer's, but it wasn't. And because I thought at first it was going to be an Archer storyline, but Dr. Charles had the bulk of that. Yeah. And he listened to him talk about his wife, and he had all these memories of his wife, but his short term was bad. He couldn't remember like his daughter and her age, her birthday, but he remembered all the dates with his wife, when they met, when they got married, the things they did. And I think him watching it, how fast it could slip away, kind of because it was after that, wasn't it, that he went to go ask her?
Yeah. No, I loved all of that too. Just to talk a little bit more about Dr. Charles. I mean, I know we've been talking about med forever, but the way he interacts with his patients is just precious.
Yes.
The way he like evaluated him without making the guy feel weird. Like, even when he couldn't remember those words, he was like, it's hard, right? He just has such a good way of like not making them feel uncomfortable for what might be going on inside of them. And I love him. Like, I need to probably see a therapist at some point, because everyone does, but I need a Dr. Charles, you know what I'm saying?
And the way he evaluates them, they don't even know they're being evaluated, because his genuine care for these people comes across in a way as conversational and comfortable. And because that's what he's doing. He's actually trying to find out who these people are. Yeah. I agree. I love it.
I love it too. But so comes back, what, January 4th is what we said, right?
January 4th.
And it looks like we'll kind of, I don't know that preview was kind of fast, but it looks like maybe we'll be getting a little bit of everyone, kind of a lot of things going on.
Well, the preview was all old images.
Well, that's what I know. I was really confused by the preview, but
I think the previews are really just, this is what's been happening, and hey, we come back January 4th. So I don't think there's really anything to glean from it.
I think that they're giving us hints, though.
Yeah.
Because the voiceover is Sharon saying, you're good doctors, you're fighting for your patients. And they zeroed in on like the bigger moments for these characters were the scenes that they showed. So I think that it's kind of indicating that the back end, season B of this season, is going to be much more intense, much more victorious and heated, I think. I think that's most of what we don't usually talk about med that long. And do you know why?
Because you're not on?
Yes. Maureen is wordy. I just know the longest things we talked about are things that I incited Jeanette on.
It's what me and you disagree, man. We could go on forever because neither one of us are going to admit our wrongs here.
I can admit I'm wrong.
When?
Sometimes.
Never.
I just like watching you guys argue. I'm like, this is fun for me, at least.
But now we can, as we like to say, we can jump into fire. That
Into
I will
fire.
always say it that way now. I
Yeah.
cannot physically say it another way anymore.
Have to.
It sounds wrong to say anything different.
Right? It does. And like, I don't know if you caught up at the beginning of the episode. I almost said, let's jump into med. I'm like, wait, no, can't say that. That's reserved for fire only. So I had to switch what I was saying. But we're going to start with the happiest part of the episode. How excited are you guys for the Cruz family?
Oh my God, that was so great.
So
Such a
emotional.
long time coming. Yeah.
Yes. And then when Rose was so worried about the court date and he's just so panicky and he finally gets it. And the way Joe, I mean, when Joe Cruz is happy, the world is happy, I think. I love him and I love Javi and I love his wife.
I do have to say one quick little, I was watching this with Elena and when Joe said, how come they don't tell us the teenage years start at 10? I looked at her and I was like, truer words have never been spoken, because I was unaware as well, but they do.
You can also see it in when Cruz took him shopping and Javi picked out that leopard print tux and Joe was like,
suit.
Well.
At first I was thinking, let the boy pick his own suit. And then like I went back and actually looked at the suit. I was like, maybe don't let the boy pick his own suit.
I mean, he's gonna wear it.
He's a better person than me, because I feel like I would have found a way to talk him out of it. And that's terrible, because I was rooting for Javi. I'm like, let that baby get his suit. But like, if this had been my kid, I would have been like, we are not buying that.
So I thought when when Joe was giving him a family lesson, family history, and he talked about his grandpa, but he didn't say my grandpa. He said your great grandpa, your uncle. And I can't stop smiling, like my cheeks hurt when I'm talking about this.
Like he also even said, when he was like, if he hadn't, when we're talking about him not playing baseball, he's like, I wouldn't be here. And Javi said, and I wouldn't either.
Yeah, I wrote that in my notes.
It was so sweet.
And Javi was willing to sacrifice that suit for Joe too.
He was going to.
But Joe didn't want to make him sacrifice anything. And I love that about Joe. And then when they had the adoption day and Bowden had the whole firehouse be inactive for 30 minutes so they could all go there. And it was just, oh my gosh, awesome. I loved it. I loved all of it. And the one phrase that I like that Joe said, which I will always associate with him now, is the Cruzes are known for three things: baseball, I forgot the other thing, and fashion. Cooking. Yes, that's right. Baseball, cooking, and fashion. I didn't know Joe Cruz was a cooker. Like,
yeah, because remember he used to cook a lot like before, but now, I mean, they always have the
newbies.
Yeah, what are they called? The candidates. I'm like, they're probies on every other show. This is where my head was, but they're candidates here.
I guess it's been so long since I've watched the beginning of Fire that I forgot that Joe used to cook a lot.
Yeah,
but
I remember him cooking.
I think that we'll see a lot of scenes in the future where Joe is teaching him to play basketball and Joe is teaching him how to cook. And Joe is taking him shopping. And I cannot wait for that, because Javi is such a sweet, sweet kid. And what he's done for that family is so beautiful. And I love every time I get to see them all together. And Chloe too. Chloe's fantastic with them.
Yes.
I love how she embraced him, because she wasn't sure at first when he brought home Javi.
I think she was worried. Yeah. Because I mean, she had a baby.
A newborn.
I understand that. Yeah.
Who wants a newborn and then a brand new kid at the same time?
Like, you don't know.
The kid is going to be a teenager in a couple of years.
Exactly. So we go from that really, really happy 51 family to all of the 51 family. And with that, we see Gallo have a very, very busy shift. So I laughed so much through this storyline.
I love him. Okay. First of all, super mad. I was telling Eve this too. We've had lots of discussions about these shows already.
Thanks a lot.
I'm sorry you hadn't watched yet, so we were talking about ourselves.
You missed your opportunity.
I'm so mad that Tracy's gone. I was looking forward to like that storyline of like Herman finding out and like navigating through it. And also because, I mean, I'm not
through it. Herman would just hit things.
I'm not ready for Gallo and Violet to be back together. I'm sure that's where we're headed.
I like them better as friends.
I do too. I mean, if they do it right, okay, we'll see. I didn't hate it when they were together. So, I mean, it's fine. But I liked his dynamic with Tracy. So I'm a little bummed that she's gone. But when Herman, with the whole spiel about like, she did so great. And it's because she surrounded herself with good people like you, Gallo. And I mean, the look you can see, Violet and Ritter in the background, like, okay.
What?
I have to say, I know we've said this, before, but I am so glad to have, the
Those three.
Ritter, but the Fantastic Three, back together, doing their thing.
It's
just breaking the news to Herman, and Ritter's like, what is it that they were talking? Maybe
he said, wait until he's in a good mood.
When is he in a good? He's literally never in a good mood. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Oh, I loved it. But I did love Gallows when he called it campaigning and Ritter.
It's called electioneering, actually.
Electioneering. But I liked I was loving it the way he convinced like Sylvie.
Everyone.
And I mean, just like she was like, you're right, and I mean, he was just it was cracking me up though.
My favorite was Tony and Cap though.
Yes.
Tony's like,
that was all Ritter that pulled that one out for him.
Tony was like, or Cap was like, we're voting for each other. We have a system.
As soon as they said that, I said, of course you do.
I love those two so much.
But as soon as Gallo went up to them, I was like, no, Cap and Tony are going to make him work for it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he pulled it off though, because Herman won, but it's not Miami, Florida.
Did part of you think when he was complimenting Ritter and saying all these really, really nice, effusive things to him about how he saved his niece, and then Bowden came in and was like, going to Miami, start a vote. Did any of you think Herman has to know that this is coming up and that Gallo is a sucker? Because we've watched Herman do this before.
I honestly was trying to figure out what his angle was. I don't think he had one. I think he was just.
I do too. Now, see the whole episode, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think one of his rare happy moods, he was like just being nice.
Probably part of it was, oh, Tracy's gone. The stress is off my back. I'm in a great mood.
Exactly. But I don't know. It just cracked me up though. Like
Miami, Ohio.
He was so upset about the Miami, and I love that Mouch knew about it.
Mm-hmm.
I loved
of course
it.
He did.
Like, I mean, I'm saying though, if I had 5 kids, I would
anywhere
to Miami, Ohio. Like me and my husband, we would go and enjoy ourselves. Granted, I'd rather go to Florida, obviously, but if I get to go without my kids,
anywhere,
let's do it. Sounds fun.
I do also want to point out
I guarantee Cindy would gladly
go
on this trip with you 100%. To Miami, Ohio.
And she wouldn't even care. It wouldn't be upsetting to her.
Exactly.
I do want to point out that when Gallo was asking Mouch, and Mouch was like, I voted for myself. Like, there's a rule against it. He's like, it was more of a suggestion. And Gallo went, it was the one rule.
It was literally
the only rule.
I don't know. It made me laugh.
I do love how I think that I like how all of these characters had the potential for such great comedy, and it's natural and it's funny and it makes it so enjoyable to watch, but then you watch them in action too, and they're the same in their action pursuits. Like you get really into it, and so do they. And I love it.
Yeah, for sure. Here I thought Ritter had finally convinced him that it was not a good idea to tell him, but he found that one moment. I mean, Ritter did say, like, wait till he's in a good mood. He was in a good mood at that adoption hearing, and he told him, and the look on Herman's face
instantly gone. Good mood gone.
Yeah. I wanted to see more of that.
Yes, but I think we will.
Thankfully.
I loved it because it was so funny, but then at the same time, I'm really, really scared for Gallo's life right now. So we'll just have to see how that goes, I guess.
At least, Gallo's new friend Carver, man, he had a big storyline this week.
I loved him this week.
I was listening to you all. I love him every week.
I don't.
I do. I am Carver's fan, and I'm going to stand by it because I think we're supposed to be his fan.
I think we will be.
You can be in that boat by yourself for right now, but I have not been his biggest fan.
Like we talk, like I think I heard you all say how you don't like him off shift. I do, because I like the rough around the edges kind of guy. I like because he's not hurting anyone but himself. So I mean, like, that's fine. And so I'm into him.
I don't want a character who hurts himself.
But I don't think he's doing it like it's his, I don't know, it's his way. He releases steam that way by going, I don't know. I don't have
really unhealthy and toxic.
Well, I like toxic.
I
We've already
know.
established this. So like this should not be news to anyone.
I don't mind if he parties. I mind if he lands himself in jail frequently. I mind that that we know of. He stopped calling Stella.
Who else is he gonna call? I guess he could call Gallo.
Gallo. I mind that he starts fights intentionally to get beat up so he can also beat up other people. I want him. I don't mind the partying to release steam. I don't mind that if that's what he needs to do. I mean, especially in this episode, I think that what I want in my problem with Carver, even beyond that, is the lack of consistency in his character. If he could be consistent and I could trust that he's going to stay and be steady, I'm all for it. I will be right on that boat with you. You
just don't like what he's consistent with.
Well, no, because he's like two different people. And I don't think that's consistent. He's consistently two different people, but I want him to be one person.
His work self and his off work self.
Two different
I think
people.
those are allowed to be two different people.
Not even that though. I feel like it's one step forward, two steps back with this guy every week.
Not this week.
Well, this is the step forward week. Maybe, when we come back, he'll step back again.
No, he's good. Moving forward.
Whatever you say.
I do, when he is on duty, I love that version of Carver. I do like it. I like it a lot. I think he's good at his job. I think he has a lot to learn, but I still think he's good at his job and he wants to be there. He wants to be part of the team. He wants to be at 51. And I love that about him. It's just, I think that he's too unstable outside of there. And it makes me frustrated because it bleeds into his work life. And I don't want it to bleed into his work life. I don't think he can keep it completely separate. And that's what my issue with him is. But like this week, phenomenal. Loved every bit of him this week. And he was drinking this week. Still loved him. Yeah. He was at Molly's though. Not usually at Molly's.
You can drink at Molly's. I'm okay with that. You can party at Molly's all he wants.
Bill Herman and Mouch's pockets.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, the call was that involved him was the motorcyclist on the bridge. I always watch the rescues and think, oh my gosh, these people are fearless. They're insane. This is crazy. Mm-hmm. This is the first time watching, I don't even know if it was actually Severide. Why can't I remember his name? Taylor Kinney. I don't know if it's actually Taylor Kinney up there, which I doubt it is.
I'm sure it's not.
But watching him on top of that bridge is the first time where I felt my stomach drop. Like, oh, how are you able to do this stuff? Like, you people are superhuman.
Well, thank God for Severide, because my initial thought was just lower the bridge. And of course, that's what somebody said, because I was thinking, why would this be hard? Just lower the bridge and we're all going to be good. I didn't think about the fact that the motorcycle might slip and, kill him. So because I think even Stella said we could lower it. He's like, no. So I'm like, thank God for you, because I would have just lowered the bridge.
And that's why Jeanette is not a firefighter.
Exactly. But this was an intense one. I was like, oh my gosh. And the bridge worker too, yes, you have policies, get it, cool. I understand that, but sometimes there are special circumstances where those rules need to be broken. This was one of them. These firefighters are telling you they need your help with this rescue. So you need to just cooperate.
I'm sure Bowden would have been happy to take all the blame. It's like, yep, we lowered the bridge. It's all our fault. Our bad. We had to save a life. Punish me. Fine.
Yeah.
But I was when he was saying we have a policy, I'm like, how hard is it to push a button and lower the darn bridge? But no, he had to wait for a supervisor to get there. Well, can you get the supervisor on the phone and have him tell you to go ahead and lower the bridge? Is this really that hard?
It was a mess, and I was totally on board with the way that Carver handled it.
He had to. What other choice did he have? It was either that or let the guy die and let Severide die.
Yes. And that's what Severide said, he's like, we wouldn't be having this, when they were meeting about the complaint, he was like, I wouldn't be here for this meeting if we hadn't done this.
That guy sucks. And I think the only reason he filed the complaint is because he was worried about losing his job. So he had to make it look like, well, no, I tried and he manhandled me.
He said he laid hands on him.
He did not.
He barely, he kind of went like this.
He
Like,
pushed past him.
like that was it. Like there
And
was
even that
nothing.
was almost more like he was just grabbing the air and that guy happened to be there.
I think his shoulder might have bumped into him. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Like this was the extent of what happened.
It was incidental.
So he didn't lay hands on him at all. He laid shoulder on him.
Technically, that guy touched him by forcing him, planting his feet, and
True.
staying there.
True.
I mean, when someone's coming at me, I move out of the way.
Mhm.
That's common sense. But this guy had none, apparently.
Well,
Did your all's mouths drop? when we
I was just
saw
going to
who
ask
the agent
that.
was?
I don't
I
remember her
did-
name, but
My mouth did not drop, but I screamed. I was like, no, get
What
out.
is her name?
It's Emma, right?
I don't
Is
know.
that-
It is Emma. It is Emma. Thank you, Eve.
See, I remember that because
Well, that's Emma on the Foster.
that was Jesus'
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
I'm girlfriend on Foster's. But anyway, as soon as she showed up, I was like, shut up, get your face out of here. Like nobody wants you here. And that whole interrogation, I was like, this is just really, really weird. I mean, I wasn't surprised because it's her. It's like
Mhm.
She's gonna cause problems.
cliquey. I'm like, yeah, they're very cliquey against people who try to get them fired.
Yeah.
I was fuming because at first when what's the girl's name? The assistant who I love, who's in Girls on
Kylie.
Fire.
Kylie.
Kylie. Jeez. When Kylie came out, she's like, we have a situation. Yeah, we all know IIDs come. What is the big deal? Why are you making this a thing? And then we said, like, the look on it, like she even was holding her bag like this, walking around like she's Paris Hilton, like who? And the only reason she's doing this because she knows that now she has a superior position to everybody at 51. And she knows she can destroy everyone's career at 51. And we also know she's not above doing that.
And I think she's going to. Like, I think this obviously
100%.
worked out. Like she said, she's not gonna, move it up the chain. There's no charges against him or whatever. But
She
she's not
threatened
done.
them twice.
She's not done.
She outright threatened them twice. And first of
I
all,
wanted.
how does this woman have a job?
I don't get that.
That was my question because I was thinking she was fired from being a paramedic, which is a part of the fire department, and now she has another job in some other like office in the fire department. Like, she not fired from the department as a whole?
I guess you could spin it to where because when she left, I mean, it was the building was on fire. Like maybe it's just that she's not good in the field. I mean, I could understand where, like, we know she's a lunatic, but like other people do not.
But I think didn't Hawkins come out and tell them that she was trying to blackmail them?
I don't think he ever did.
I thought that was when he confessed to the one lady. I don't remember. I thought he did. Maybe I'm wrong, but I thought he did.
I think he was honest about his relationship with Violet. I don't think he told her that he was being blackmailed.
I think he was. I feel like he didn't tell. I think he told about his relationship with Violet, but I don't think he ever mentioned the blackmailing because that seems out of his character to like throw her, even though she was doing it to him. I just don't see Evan like throwing her under the bus like that. Like,
but Bowden did a complete workup too on when he dismissed her of every reason why she was dismissed.
I don't know. I can see why, but I thought she was gone too. So
if you can't do your job in the field, you have no right assessing if someone else can do their job right in the field.
I agree with that.
It's insane to me that she has a job. And the two threats she made were one when she was in there and she delighted in making them squirm, delighted in it. And like the question she was asking me, the thing, and because the two questions she asked was, are you fitting in at 51? Do you feel comfortable at 51? And do you like it at 51? Those have nothing to do with the incident at all.
I honestly thought she was going to come after him because he was fitting in and because that's what she wanted to happen. Like I thought, oh no, now she's going to like have it out for Carver because he's able to fit in this place where she could not.
See, I thought she was going to try to use him to take down 51.
Well, I think then that's what I thought at first. But then after she started asking these questions and he was taking up for him, I was afraid she was going to get jealous of it. And like, which I'm not saying she won't still, because like she said to him, like, one of these in your file is like,
That was the first threat.
so I'm waiting for something else to come up.
Because she said 1 in your file is okay. 2 seems like a pattern.
Mm-hmm.
And then the look on Bowden and Stella's face when she said that, they obviously took that as the threat it was.
Yeah.
And then she went out to Violet.
I wanted Violet to punch her. I knew, but I didn't, because I was like, no, Violet, you'll get in trouble. But I kind of want you to.
I thought that she was going to try to push Violet to react physically so she could get Violet in trouble, is what I thought she was going to do when she went out there, but Violet held together. And she said, all I'm saying is it's good to have a friend on the inside. You never know when you might need one. And then smiled and like,
yeah.
Okay. So what false allegation are you bringing against them now? Because I think that's the next step.
I knew that we weren't going to be done with her. When she was fired, I said, this cannot be the end. There has to be more.
I think I was just.
I didn't think about it. Yeah, me too. I hated her character so much that I just wanted her gone.
Mm-hmm. By far the most hated person
She's
in the one Chicago world, I think.
Yeah, if we ever did just in general for all of our shows, a top 10 most hated character, she would be like number 1.
Well,
I think.
The guy who arrested Al on PD is probably my number 1.
Yeah, but I still feel like his wasn't as, I don't know. I feel like hers was more vindictive. So plus she messed with.
So was his.
She messed with Violet and Hawkins, and we now knowing how that ended. Well, I guess Al too, same situation.
Denny came at Adam.
They're both. That's true. And that's where you draw the line, right?
Yes. I'm surprised that you didn't draw there.
What about the people? No, the people that tried to hurt Will, too.
Oh, yeah.
Fire. I have to hate them too.
Oh, that crazy lady.
You can't hurt my favorite people.
So I think another thing I loved about Carver's whole situation this week was Stella consistently had his back the whole time, which, and I know that's even been rocky week to week with, does she have his back this week? Does she not? But she really had it this week. And I think he was finally able to see that.
Yeah.
Finally.
Yeah, I definitely liked I like their relationship. I like where we're going with this friendship.
Yep.
This week though, like Stella, like aside from all of that, I feel like it was kind of a tough week. Like for her and Kelly both. I mean, which Kelly, I mean, he was his grumpy self again, which I get it. He has his reasons.
He's not sleeping.
But, dang, I just don't like him grumpy. I usually like my grumpy guys, but something about him grumpy is just turns me off big time.
It feels mean when he's grumpy.
It does feel mean, and I don't like it. I like it when he's smiley and happy and all that. But he's got a lot going on, so I mean, obviously we give him a pass.
He's up at 4 a.m. every day to go to work, and then he works until much later than that.
Yeah.
That'd make me pretty grumpy too.
Right. And I like that Stella was able to like call him out on that and like explain that she understands the struggle. And I like that she gave him the idea to like take this situation with what was going on with Prima and everything, you know, into his own hands and go talk to the guy. Because as soon as he did, that guy was not remorseful at all for what happened to Kelly and Stella. So, I mean, that decided it. Like that's, you know, of course, that may have been bad because we see what happened afterwards that, you know, this whole situation may have turned out differently if they'd had this guy's help. I don't know.
No, that was what they did in the end was because of this guy's help.
Was it because of his help? Oh, I guess
yeah, because Kelly somehow, I mean, Kelly can read people better than the police can.
That's true.
For some reason.
Yeah.
And I think the police should really be better at that than a firefighter, but Kelly's better at it. And he was like, we're done. And he got up and walked out. And then the guy gave Prima information. And then Kelly said, well, there you go. Make your deal.
That's true. Yeah. And that, y'all, was crazy. Like, I remember seeing on the previews too, like, I didn't realize it was going to be Prima that, like, the grenade.
I didn't either.
Which I don't like Prima, but I obviously didn't want
hate him anymore.
To have a grenade stuck in his leg. I don't dislike him that much, you know. Not that I don't set it off. Like there are people
the level of painful deaths is Luca or Hawkins now, and the level of how much we hate a character is whether or not we want a grenade in their leg.
Well, I mean, this is gonna sound dark, but I'm cool if Emma had a grenade in her leg. Like,
well, I mean,
yeah, Emma can have a grenade in her leg. I'm fine.
I don't care at all. She's terrible. But she doesn't. Prima does. And this is like, but here's my thing, okay? They said they needed a medic. So why did Stella and Carver go in? They're
Carver,
not
they're
medics.
they're both trained in medics as a medic. I think Carver for sure is, but I
I'm
thought
like,
Stella was also trained that way, and I don't think they would let the medics go in because they aren't firefighters.
but
But I don't know what that makes a difference. I don't know why.
I don't know
think
why
that-
it matters.
I think there was the additional situation of, it was a grenade. So I'm guessing that situation
But I
was
don't think-
above, like what was above Brett and Violet's pay grade. That's what I'm guessing.
Yeah.
Why? It didn't make any sense to me when you say you need a medic. And on Chicago Fire, like, it's not like Carver's had some training somewhere, but like on Chicago Fire, the firefighters and medics are not the same. On
Mhm.
911 and things like that, they are cool. And on Station 19, there's not a separate medic team, but like we have medics. So like I feel like they would be the better people in there trying to help him.
For sure.
So it just was a plot point for Stella to be in there and us be scared to death that
That's
she's
exactly
gonna
it.
die, but still.
I think I didn't even realize that they were saying they needed medics. I was just thinking, yeah, grenade, firefighter. All right, that's what it is.
Yeah, they said it
So I
twice,
didn't
but
even,
I mean,
wasn't even paying attention to that.
I mean, Stella can't disarm a grenade. I mean, that's SWAT. So I mean, like, or bomb squad. Like, so I don't know. I felt like it didn't make a whole lot of sense, in my opinion. Not that I want Sylvie or Violet in there, because I would have been more upset about that. But still, like, I don't know.
I did want to say one thing though. That whole giant scene with all of those police surrounding the house, where were our people? What's wrong with intelligence?
Different division.
Well, too bad. They should have been there anyway.
I think Adam and Kim and Hank and all them would have handled this situation much better, in my opinion.
Hank would have offered to go into the house.
He would have
and
went,
Hundred
which
percent.
would have been even worse, though, in my opinion. Like, let's not put Hank in any kind of danger.
No.
So,
Although I will say, when the bomb went off, we could see that the fire was just above Stella as she dove for cover. So she didn't get hit by it because she missed it and she dove behind the table. And the fire stopped just before the table. Don't know where Carver was though.
No, I thought she was jumping on top of Carver because Carver was covering Prima because she said cover him. And then
I didn't catch her say cover him. I just saw her
she
shy.
told him to cover him. And then I could have swore that I saw her like jump towards him.
I thought that he threw a table up and then when she was jumping, she went behind it.
They threw the table up, but I did see that, but I think she jumped to cover Carver and Prima.
Who were behind the table, right?
Maybe. I don't remember that part. But the fire was close enough, in my opinion, that's stressful. So
it is stressful. I don't think she's gonna die, but
no, I don't think she's gonna die. I'm actually more worried about Carver just because of the trajectory that we've been
I don't think it would be fair if they killed off another person in fire this season. I'm just gonna say it.
And not another one that I've just decided that I've liked. Okay. Like,
stop voicing your opinion about these people, Jeanette. Be like the rest of us. Be like, yeah, I don't care about them.
You're gonna be silent, right?
So I think in the next episode, we're obviously gonna get some answers about Stella. Maybe we won't know until January 4th, but there's no way they're gonna avoid giving us answers about Stella and Carver because it's unavoidable. And I'm thankful for a show like this that doesn't do time jumps to show us something. Not always. And I think there's been a couple here or there, like after a season ender to a season beginner, there's a time jump, but I feel like not in the mid-season. Yeah, there's not usually. So I think the next episode is going to focus on the family atmosphere. Pretty hardcore on this because again, they showed all past scenes, but there was the scenes that they chose to show involved our favorite three hugging, focus on the fire that took Hawkins, 81 going into a save, and the voiceover is Carver saying 51 is the best house hands down. So I think that what we're going to focus on is them pulling together as a family in the next episode.
Yeah.
I think it's really, again, returns January 4th. So
seems so far away.
I know
it's not. Christmas coming up. It's going to fly by, but it seems so far.
That's a month away. It'll be back in 1 month. That does seem like a long time. Okay. So I think that's as much as we can talk about. I mean, we probably could talk more about PD. We could debate Carter. I think in every episode so far, there's been something that Jeanette and I have disagreed on. I think Eve and I are in the league with Carver, and then I was against Jeanette and Eve for Maggie and Ben. So let's see what we can disagree on PD. I don't think there's going to be anything.
There's going to be nothing we disagree on here. I don't think.
Except for the fact that you thought it was boring.
Yes. Wow.
I didn't think it was boring. Here's what, like, we went from like big old shocker at the end of Med saying that like Jack Dayton has like controlling interest. Then we've got Carver and Stella's life in peril. And then this one tied up all nice and neat. And so I was just like, oh, okay. And there wasn't enough Adam. We saw him like 3 times in like a blip.
You saw him
Like,
3
never-
times?
I don't know. I'm just estimating. Like
I saw him once.
if there is not, if Adam doesn't get to be in like at least 20 minutes of the episode, it's not a good episode in my opinion.
Well, this episode is about Sean O'Neill
Yes.
and the trafficking case. And it just, at first, well, I think the whole episode just sort of went from bad to worse.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, like, we found out the victim was a 12-year-old little girl that died from strangulation.
Now, I know that in the last podcast we did for Chicago, we were speculating it might be a mom, his mom. That was me speculating.
But I didn't know why you thought that. I was like, I don't remember hearing anything about his mom.
Because his mom wasn't in the picture, and the way his dad, and I still, even when his dad pulled up to the scene, it seemed like he knew something.
Yeah, I did think that dad was involved.
And
So,
then that was why I thought that, because in the preview, we see him looking down at the dead body, and he looked like, I'm already aware of this. So that's why I was like, that's why I thought mom.
but I think it's more of he's got a complete poker face about all of this because he refuses to, like,
He does.
you know.
And the other
And
reason I
guilt.
thought mom was because this is a sexual abuse case. Well, it's beyond that, it's trafficking. But I mean, it involves sexual abuse. And then they were talking heavily about his dad took him to the cabin. The cabin's where it all started, and they were hitting that hard. So I thought it was a familial thing.
Yeah.
But it was,
Which, I
it
mean-
was not. It was a 12-year-old girl that he
Yeah,
raped. And
I thought that too, you know what I mean? But it doesn't even seem like Sean, like there's even any abuse in his past. It's just,
no,
he's just
A terrible
psycho.
terrible-
Yeah.
That was when he was 17. This girl was 12. And I don't remember them going into detail about, I mean, they went over, they were talking so fast at that point.
They
when
were.
they were going over her points.
Mhm.
But they found out that she died of strangulation. That was the one, because, the other thing was Hank said, whoever did this used this chemical, this chemical, this chemical. They knew what they were doing. They knew how to cover up a murder. Like,
Yeah.
oh my God. So it
Which-
almost feels like Sean was trained for this.
But maybe he just,
He paid attention is what he did.
yeah, I
I
mean,
think.
his dad was a cop. So, I mean, who knows by 17 what stories you've heard. And I mean, he just knew what to do.
And questions from a son to a father about his job might seem innocent to the father. He's like, oh, he's interested in what I do.
Yeah.
Rather than my son's a sociopath and is planning and murdering a bunch of people.
Well, I mean, technically he was interested in what he does, but just from a psychopath perspective.
Oh, he went with the dark humor.
I mean, it's true though. Then they also found that girl that I guess that had followed him to Chicago, but then she like,
Well, they met at a detox where they were at in Wisconsin, I think.
right. And then didn't they say she followed him to Chicago,
To safe place.
to safe place? And then she as soon as she turned 18, changed her name and like took off and's been hiding ever since. So obviously that was red flags. And so they find her. I felt so sorry for her. She did not want to talk about it, but they got her to talk about it, and I'm glad for that. But just hearing all the terrible stuff, you know, that she had to go through, I really thought that would be enough.
I feel like nothing they came up with seemed to be enough this episode. It was really, really frustrating.
And I think it's because probably his dad is who he is. So
That's
like
exactly
it needed
what it
to
is.
be absolutely concrete.
Mhm.
And they were almost too eager to get the information. They kept making mistakes.
And I think
While they
with
were doing it.
her, because she repeatedly said, I can't say. And then Haley also told her, no one ever has to know you are it. You said,
Right.
so you won't ever, basically, you'll never appear on stand. She
Right.
can't appear on stand. It's hearsay. They have to hear it right from her. They can't. And I was at a hearing once for somebody, and they were like, oh, that's hearsay. That's hearsay. That's, oh my gosh, shut up.
Everything's here. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
can't, it has to be straight from the horse's mouth specifically. And so if she couldn't go on the stand, they really did have nothing.
Mhm.
And the most devastating part was when she said, we used to have sessions, sort of therapy. And I told him everything about me. And he acted like he cared. And the look on Haley's face, because he did the same thing to Haley. And it was a callback to, remember that very first episode we met Sean, when they were all out at the farm looking for the girl whose name I don't remember, sadly. But he looked at Haley and remember that we were talking about that creepy line he said to Haley where he's like, but it was so, I remember we talked about how creepy it was. I can't remember the exact wording, but something about how you feel sad all the time, don't you? Are you you hate that I can see it, don't you? The sadness, how you're broken. And the way he cocked his head, like he lowered his voice, it was like he's two personalities. And this girl said that's basically what he did to him. And Haley went up to her and said, I sat across from him too. I know how it feels like he can see right through you, but he can't. That poor girl.
Haley is one of my favorite people anymore.
I love her this season.
Her compassion is just unmatched as far as I think she's like one of the best human beings. Like I love her so much. I felt so sorry for her.
I haven't loved her for a long time, ever since she came on.
I'm always just kind of like about her.
Didn't dislike her. I'm loving her this season. Fantastic.
Me too.
I didn't really we all know I wasn't a huge Haley fan before this. But and that was just because of her attitude. But that's the difference. This season, she's showing this. Of course, she's going a little insane, but she's showing her compassionate side. And I don't destroy this character when I'm starting to like her. Don't do it.
Even though this ASA keeps saying that's not enough. That's not enough. We can't use this. Hank's determined to make this happen. And so, thank goodness. Because, she was shooting him down every chance she got.
Well, I was excited when they found that other link. But then at the same time, I was like, well, great. Are they going to shoot this one down too?
And they did. I sympathize with Haley, though, when she broke it, because that girl did look young.
Yes. Well, my thing was, regardless of how she looked, he put his hands on her, and that was clearly an argument. So I felt like that should be enough. Now, granted, why are they peeping in his windows? Okay, I get that part, but
no, the peeping in his windows was fine because they were there trying to get him out, so they had to have the building surrounded. So that was totally fine.
You look inside, you see this man with his hands on this person, and it looks like a domestic sort of argument. I see no reason why you couldn't bust him, in my opinion.
And they're acting like it was just Haley, but Torres was right there. Why did they ask Torres his point of view from it? Why didn't they pull him in and see, well, do you corroborate the story? That conversation Haley had with him in that interrogation room. Oh my goodness. Does that dude play creepy so well? He's disturbing.
For the record, Sean, creepy. He is a psychopath. But this actor, holy cow, he is good.
What's funny though, guys, is I've just started watching Yellowstone. Okay, I'm only on episode 3 or whatever. I don't know. I keep not going back to it. He's on Yellowstone.
Was he?
He is, and he's this guy that they sort of bring onto the team, but he's this really weak and just kind of scared and whatever kind of guy that they sort of force him to be on their team, doing stuff or whatever. But he's such a wimp on this show. It is wow. When I first saw him, I was like, oh my gosh, that's Sean. It's so different. So kudos to this actor, because that character is the exact opposite of the character he's playing right now. Oh, it's pretty cool.
Yeah. I like seeing these actors with these ranges.
Yeah. But he's definitely creepy. You would, it's weird to say, you would believe that he's a pedophile and a sex trafficker. And I hate that because I'm sure the man is lovely. But he makes you believe this.
It's even the way he moves his head. And we talked about this the first episode we saw him on, when he was in there when she was interrogating that one kid, and Sean was like, can I be in the room to help? He kept tilting his head in certain ways. It's ooh, I don't like that. And he did it in this interrogation room. I wrote down what he said because it was so oh geez. He said, I help them when CPD won't. And then he looked at the pictures of the kids that he raped and or killed and said, what do you think finding these kids will do for you? Do you think it will stop the pain? Like, oh my, geez, dude. And
it's pretty wild.
He was staring right through Haley when he said it.
Mm-hmm.
And he even like maneuvered his body to let, I don't know, man. I was just like, whoa. There's a reason I don't watch horror movies, but this was like psychological. So I was like, instead of like leaning away, I was like leaning towards my TV, very, very into what was happening right here. And Haley even said, is this why you started using drugs? How long have you been attracted to children?
Yeah.
So she's got him figured out too.
Oh, absolutely. But I mean, sure enough, dad and his lawyer, I mean, the lawyer gets there, I mean, and they have nothing to hold this man on.
But the dad is a chief and he's trying to get him out before the 48 is up.
Yes, I mean, I keep trying to look at it from his point. I mean, as a parent, I mean, you don't want to believe this, but like the evidence is there, man. Like it's there. Like a couple episodes ago, I get it. Because you don't want to believe this about your child. Like, I totally understand. You would have to like absolutely prove it to me 1000%. But they have.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's there. So I don't understand. And I mean, Hank loses it on him, which I understand. Hank's like, man, it's right here. I mean, Hank is the number one person that would have stuck up for Justin for literally anything, but not this.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I mean, I think he feels for him too. And he's like, I get it. But like, the best thing you can do for your child right now is to get him this help that he needs because the guy is messed up.
Yeah. And I mean, the thing with being a parent, like, I love my kids. I would do anything for them. However, if my kid was innocent, why can't you trust the process?
Yeah.
But if he's not innocent, you're letting kids die. And not just one, not just two. One would be enough, but several teenage and younger girls are dying. So even if he didn't do this, then you should trust the process. You're a cop. You can control the process, clearly. But then you also have to, if you're a parent, you're hearing this information, you have to look at both sides. If he did, we need to stop this from happening. If he didn't, we need to get him help to get him out of this. But that his dad is not doing that. His dad knows he did it. That's why he's trying to pull him out.
Yeah.
But I think the other aspect is that Hank doesn't really lose it like that on people.
Yeah.
At least not his bosses. And when he flipped, he even said, do you think we're finding this by magic?
Right.
It's not a coincidence that every place they've led has been, even the cabin. And I found it's sad that his name is Patty. The chief's name is Patty because all I kept thinking was Adam.
It's Patty. I had captions on it. It's Patty with T's.
Totally different. So it's okay.
But it's his cabin where this girl was. So either Chief O'Neill killed this girl or Sean killed this girl. Like, there isn't another option here.
Yeah, I mean, somebody buried her in your shed. So, obviously.
But still, he doesn't believe the evidence that's right there.
No. And I get that it's hard when it's your kid. I get it. Loving your kid sometimes means that you get them help and you discipline. And that's sometimes what love looks like. Love doesn't mean no consequences.
Yeah.
And of course, his dad gets him freed. So.
Right. You know, I mean, he got him freed, but I think that's where, you know, Hank is like kind of exhausted all of his options. And he takes him that like that file and was like, man, here it all is. Like, take a look at it.
Yeah.
Because they know, like, I mean, they've exhausted all their options here. And so like they've just got to wait for Sean to either slip up or the chief to actually realize like this is a thing, you know?
Yeah. And he's not the only. Haley also goes to talk to Sean.
I got so nervous.
Oh, I know, me too. And his drugs are right there on the table. And he says, "You gonna arrest me? Yeah. See how long you can keep me in for this time?" Like, oh my God. Has this kid ever had a consequence? Yeah. Ever?
No.
Clearly not. But I found it interesting that both dad and son are drinking the same bottle of scotch too. They're both doing the exact same thing. And you wonder how much, because clearly this guy started using drugs because of his pedophilia. That's when he started, he said. And his dad is clearly drinking to numb out any possibility that his son is this. But I'm sure he's remembering this. Now, I just want to read, because I wrote down what he said. I wanted to, because it's so, there's no way that I could paraphrase or put it into words, and it's just real quick. But he said, Sean's talking to Haley, he said, see, bad things happen, Haley, but you can't control how they happen. You can only control who they happen to. You sacrifice the broken to save the rest. And Haley says, who deems them broken? He said, I do. Like, just.
So it's like he's choosing these people that he thinks are not worth saving.
Yes, that's exactly it.
And
he said to Haley, something's gone, and you were broken when you were younger, weren't you? And it's not because your husband left. You've always been broken, just like me. And then he said,
sorry for her.
And then he said, and when you're already doomed. And then she just said, are the girls dead? But there's nothing. And he talks a lot about, in this conversation with her, he talks about how he wanted to be better. He just couldn't. He joined 6 religions. He joined all these therapies. None of it worked. That's why he started drinking or doing drugs. He tried telling his dad once.
Yeah. It's like, sir, I feel for you on that, but this is not, like, this doesn't condone what you're doing.
No.
You know, I mean, I don't know. Like,
I'm almost wondering, like, at this point, I thought, okay, so he already took the drugs and he's OD'd already, and he's like on his way out. Or he's got a gun under the table and he's about to kill himself.
Like, why was this not enough to get him? He basically just confessed to Haley, right?
Haley couldn't use anything from in there.
But how? Why?
Because she wasn't wearing a wire. So it's not on tape. You have to have it on tape because it'll be he said, she said.
But
and Sean, I understand that. But in a court of law, the chief's lawyers will pick apart every bit of it.
Yeah.
And we see that Sean is clearly disturbed and is a chameleon when it comes to how he speaks and what he said. And it's evident when he taunts her in the beginning. You gonna arrest me this time? He knows exactly what he's doing. He knows that. But I think he almost wants a consequence. I think he wants something to happen. I think he was almost hoping that she would shoot him.
Yeah.
Because she said to him, you wanted to save all of them, didn't you? There's a good part. There's some part of you that wanted to, but you couldn't because you're damaged, you're broken, you're whatever you are.
Yeah.
But then Patty Chief O'Neill with, oh my gosh.
Call him Patty.
I know. It feels weird every time I say it.
I'm not going to call him Patty. Can't do it.
But when Hank pulls her, the conversation Hank had with Chief O'Neill was so sad. And even the chief said, we are responsible. I am responsible. We're responsible for our loved ones. Absolutely. And Hank said, not for this. This guy, I think
I get that perspective though. Like I would feel the same way.
Right?
Yeah.
Especially
like I did something to break them and make them this way. Yeah.
Yes. Or if I had raised them better, if I had done something different, they wouldn't have chosen this path.
Yeah.
But this is just so extreme. And I think that part of him is thinking, I mean, there's a reason he's getting crazy drunk right there. Yeah. I think he's realizing, and the chief doesn't want this. The chief knows this is bad. The chief doesn't want his son to be this, and the chief doesn't want these kids to suffer. He's not a bad guy.
Right.
He's misguided in how he's caring for his son, but I think he had planned on either killing himself for sure. But I think when his son came over there, I think it was something more. But I think what I wanted to point out before we move into the final pieces of the story is when Hank pulls her out and he tells Haley, he's in your head. And she said, I know.
Yeah. This whole episode, I
worried.
was so stressed about Haley.
Yes.
And I think this is why I said it was boring, because I think this whole episode, I was so stressed thinking something's going to happen to Haley, whether it be she's going to get hurt, whether it's going to be she's going to like leak. I don't know. I thought something was happening and then it didn't.
Something is happening to her though.
I know, but you know what I mean? But by the end of the episode, I think this is where my thing was, that I was so amped up and then and so I was like, oh,
I can see that.
Never mind.
But they get back to work. They have to finish this case.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the end was good and it was bad. Both.
Yeah. Well, even like this part, like coming into this, when they go and they find this truck and she's like by herself, like going into this building. I mean, I'm stressed out thinking like, oh my God, what's gonna happen? I thought Haley's gonna die. She's gonna die. Like, thankfully
There
she
were a
didn't.
lot of locked gates, a lot of locked fences to get to that one
Yes,
spot.
yes. I did like seeing, I think I told Eve this too. I liked seeing Hank in the field. We don't see him in the field very often, so this was fun. But when they opened up that truck,
Oh my gosh, I thought they were all dead.
I thought they were all dead too. And
I almost threw up.
It was awful. Thankfully they weren't, you know what I mean? I don't know. I mean, they said that, I don't know if we got word. I mean, they said they were alive. They called, ambulances. So I think we're assuming the girls were going to be okay. The one girl even spoke that said, do we have to go back to and Haley's like, no, you never have to go back to them. Oh my gosh. It was just, it was a lot. It was a lot. And then, they go to arrest Sean. Of course, they finally find him at his dad's, and they've both been shot. I guess what we think the chief shot Sean.
And then himself, I think. Himself.
That's what I think.
Like.
But Sean's still alive. And I was worried too in that moment about Haley as well, is when Hank is trying to save him and he's like, help me, Haley. And I'm like I'm talking to Haley through my
Me too.
screen. I'm like, Haley, don't know, you're better than this. You don't let this break you. And she did jump in there, but it definitely took her a while. So I'm really worried about her mental state there.
I did like how Hank treated it though.
He did.
Because Hank knows exactly where he was. Hank knows exactly where she's headed. And Hank told her before, don't be like me. So I think in this process of what happened with Jay and Haley and Hank, Hank is actually becoming more who he wants to be because he's trying to protect Haley from becoming who he is.
Yeah.
So I think we're going to see Hank become a better cop, but he gave Haley the opportunity first to call it in. And when she wouldn't, he did.
Yeah.
Hank wouldn't have done this before.
I was going to say last season, Hank would not have done that.
No, so he would have let him die. In fact, he did let the guy die.
Yes.
That was the source of the problem, was he let Roy die.
Yeah. So I'm proud of him, They ended up, saving Sean, which I'm glad too, because I'm like, Sean needs to pay for what he's done.
100%.
And that kind of person in prison, he's gonna get taken care of. Like, he's gonna be punished severely all the time, which in my opinion is much better.
I was really worried he was gonna die.
Just dying,
And even in that, that's the chief. The chief, I don't think, shot him because he was mad. I think he shot him to protect him.
Probably.
And then he couldn't handle that he had to do it to his son, and that's why he killed himself.
Yeah, I really hope he gets to rot in prison.
That was too easy.
For the rest of eternity.
Absolutely. But I mean, I guess, I said there was no cliffhanger. I mean, the story, I guess, isn't technically over since he's still alive. And I mean, I don't know if they'll show us, what else is going to happen. But I guess we'll see.
And typically, we don't see the legal end.
Yeah.
I mean, it's PD, so it's all legal, but we don't see the judiciary part where they're in the trial and they're the judge in the court and stuff. I don't know if it'll be different because it's the chief's son. And because so many of them were involved in this for so long, maybe we'll see someone get called to the stand. I mean, we've seen Adam get called to the stand before. Yeah. So
I hope at the very least, even if we don't see like the continuation of Sean, we see the continuation of the effects that it's had on Haley, and let's get that resolved.
Yes.
Her and Kim need to go to therapy together.
Oh my gosh. Yes, please. Yes, please.
Yeah. Hank probably needs to go with them. He's got plenty of things to talk about.
Hank is actually...
Maybe everyone can just go,
like on Station 19 where they have like the counselor that comes to the fire station. Can we have a counselor come to the precinct and just talk to all of them a little bit?
Can it be
Dr.
Karen?
Charles.
I loved her.
Oh my God. Yes. Dr. Charles could fix them in a heartbeat.
Just have weekly dinners with Dr. Charles. Group dinners with Dr. Charles and Lillian. Be fine.
Yeah, that's perfect. Double date. Adam and Kim can go out with Lillian and Dr. Charles. It'd be great.
I do think though that having Hank having Haley and treating her like a daughter, because I think that's how he sees her now.
Yes.
I think that's therapy for him. I think it's him having a second chance to be better, and he's taking it. So I'm excited for what it means for both of them.
Yeah, because I mean, between losing his wife and then Justin His grandson's nowhere around. Aaron moves away. I think it's absolutely therapy that he can have someone he loves in that familiar way.
Yeah. And I think on the next episode, again, comes out January 4th, much like Med and Fire, it was a lot of past scenes, but I think we're going to be focusing on victories in the next episode, because you see lots of quick scenes with everyone in action, but you see Haley arresting Sean for the very first time. You see Torres's first save, and then Kim getting her commendation. So, and the voiceover is Hank saying, "Let's get back to work." Yeah. So I think we're going to be focusing on victory in because you know how when we first started PD, it was every episode ended with a victory. Maybe they'll make that a little bit more of the focus in the back half. So it's not these every week feeling like justice is losing.
Yeah.
So I think that might be a direction they're going just based off that preview. Yeah. So, I mean, again, January 4th, we have a month until the next one comes out. So you will not be hearing from us until that following Sunday or Tuesday. So you won't be hearing from us until the 10th again on Chicago. So if you want to join our Facebook group or check out our Facebook group, it's One Chicago Family Fan Club. Go look over there. We're doing some Christmas stuff right now. We have Friday Night Flicks coming out. Are we doing any other special posts? I know we're doing the verses
holiday posts that are coming up. We're down to the final 4 of our sexiest TV doctors. So,
is there anybody from Chicago Med still on there? I think it's just the resident left.
No, Dr. Will Halstead is still left.
Is?
But he's probably going to get beat by Devin Pravesh. But that's okay, because if Will has to losing to Devin is fine.
So check that out. Help keep them alive. I didn't mean to say it that way. I meant on the versus thing, not in the show. Keep them alive, please. Don't call any of these doctors. Please don't do that.
But I would love for Will Halstead to win this. It's not going to happen.
I mean,
but we can always dream.
If you Chicago fans will join our Facebook group and we'll get in there, it could happen.
Make it happen.
Anything's possible if you just believe.
Yes. Sound like a 90s, after school special kind of like.
But don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Please do that if you have not done it already. It helps us to continue to give you content, and hopefully if we can build that up even more, we can get some more interviews from you. We're hoping to connect with some Chicago cast here soon. We've gotten some positive answers from some of them, so we're just in the works with that, trying to get that for you. So make sure you subscribe there and share it with your friends, and we will see you in January. We'll see you in 2023. Ooh.
See you next year.
Yeah. See you next year, people. We're cheesy and we like it. We're okay with it.
Okay.
All right. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Loving our content? Subscribe to our YouTube channel, and don't forget to share our podcast with your family and friends. We want to continue the conversation with you. You can find us on Instagram, Twitter, or TikTok under Fandom Family Chats, or one of our ever-growing Facebook groups by searching Family Fan Club. We've also launched a website, Family Fan Club 2021 at wixsite.com. You can email us there and keep checking it for announcements and merch coming soon. And of course, be sure to tune in every week for new episodes discussing all your favorite shows.